Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special explainer from all of us here at Rungta IAS Academy. Today, we're tackling a really crucial topic for your GS2 paper, the India-South Korea relationship. You've probably seen it in the news, and believe me, it's a huge component of India's foreign policy. So let's jump right in, shall we? Okay, so here's how we're going to approach this. We'll look at the partnership from three key angles, or pillars, if you will: economic, cultural, and strategic. First, we'll talk about the recent summit that's really brought this partnership back into focus. And then, importantly, we'll finish up with some solid, practical advice on how you can use this information in your exams. This structure itself is a great way to frame your mains answers. And as we're going through all of this, I want you to keep one central question in mind. It's the kind of analytical question UPSC absolutely loves. We're not just going to list facts here. We're trying to figure out the future trajectory of this relationship and what's holding it back? Getting this kind of critical analysis right, well, that's what makes your answers stand out from the rest. So let's start with what's happening right now. The big news is the recent two-day visit of the South Korean president to Delhi. And this is significant. It's the first time in 8 long years that a summit of this level has happened. That in itself is a powerful signal, right? It tells us both countries are serious about kicking this partnership into a higher gear. Exactly. This was so much more than just a diplomatic handshake. The real objective here was to build on the foundations already in place and to launch a new, forward-looking vision. We're talking about deepening ties in everything from trade and technology to defense, basically the whole shebang. All right, let's move to the first pillar. And you know what that is? It's almost always about the economy. The economic partnership is really the bedrock of this relationship. As you know, in international relations, trade and investment often drive the conversation. And this is the headline number that came out of the summit: $50 billion. Just let that sink in. This is the new, very ambitious target for bilateral trade that both leaders have committed to hitting by the year 2030. It's a massive goal, but it really shows the level of confidence they have in this partnership. Okay, so let's put that target into perspective. Right now, our trade is hovering around $27 billion. So the aim is to almost double that in less than a decade. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be easy. It's going to require tackling some tough issues, like non-tariff barriers. But think about what it signifies. It's a huge vote of confidence in the economic future between India and South Korea. And here's where it gets really interesting for your exam answers. The cooperation is expanding into totally new, futuristic areas. We're not just talking about cars and electronics anymore. We're talking about critical minerals, quantum computing, shipbuilding. These are the high-tech strategic sectors of the future. This is where South Korea's advanced technology meets India's growing industrial base. Make sure you note these down. These are exactly the kind of specific points that impress examiners. Okay, let's shift from the economy to our second pillar, the cultural connection. Now, this is a fascinating area. It has incredibly deep historical roots, but also, as we're about to see, a lot of room to grow in the modern era. So let's dive into that. It's incredible, but this connection goes back thousands of years. There's the ancient legend of Princess Soraratna from Ayodhya, who is said to have traveled all the way to Korea and became a queen, known as Heo Hwangok. Now, fast forward to our time, and you see the Hallyu, or the Korean wave, K-dramas, K-pop. It's become a massive cultural phenomenon right here in India. There's clearly a very special bond between our peoples. But, and this is a fantastic point for a critical analysis in your answer, here's the paradox. We're all glued to our screens watching K-dramas, but have the actual people-to-people connections kept up? The data suggests maybe not. Just look at these numbers. It's quite startling, actually. Vietnam, which is a much smaller country than India, is home to about 200,000 Korean expats. In India, we have only around 12,000. That's a massive difference. And what it points to is a huge untapped potential in areas like tourism, student exchanges, and business ties. Okay, and that brings us to our third and final pillar, strategic alignment. In today's really complex and often turbulent world, India and South Korea are realizing that they share a lot of the same concerns and values. Let's look at how these two vibrant democracies are coming closer together to face the geopolitical challenges of our time. This quote from Prime Minister Modi really captures the essence of the strategic partnership. He talks about democratic values, a market economy, and respect for the rule of law being deeply embedded in the DNA of both nations. This ideological convergence is the foundation. Remember this phrase, shared DNA. It's a powerful way to frame the strategic aspect in your answer. And it goes beyond just shared values. They're also dealing with very similar real-world threats. Think about disruptions to maritime trade in the Indo-Pacific, concerns about long-term energy security, and just navigating the big geopolitical storms. They're basically in the same boat, facing the same challenges. This is why you see them cooperating more and more, which directly connects to your GS2 syllabus on global groupings and security. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why of the partnership. Now for the most important part from your perspective. How do you actually use all this information to write a brilliant answer in the mains or handle a tricky question in the interview? Let's break it down. So here's a very typical mains question you could face. Notice the phrasing carefully. Rich in potential but modest in achievements. And the directive word is critically evaluate. This is not just asking you to list things, it's asking for a balanced argument, for you to weigh the pros and cons. So how would you approach this? Here's a simple, effective framework, a perfect roadmap for a high-scoring answer. Start your introduction with the recent summit. That's your contemporary context. Then, for the body, use the 3 pillars we discussed: economic, cultural, and strategic. But for each pillar, you must do a potential versus achievement analysis. So for economics, talk about the $27 billion achievement versus the $50 billion potential. For culture, talk about K-pop's popularity versus the low expat numbers. See the pattern? And finally, a forward-looking conclusion that suggests how to bridge this gap. If you follow this structure, you're building a really solid analytical answer. And finally, let's think about your personality test, the interview. Imagine the board asks you a question like this. This is designed to test your thinking, not just your knowledge. What is the single most important strategic interest? Is it their shared democratic identity? Or is it a more pragmatic interest, like ensuring stability in the Indo-Pacific? There isn't one perfect answer, but the way you structure your thought process is what matters. Show them your analytical depth, and you will definitely leave a great impression. Okay, that's all for this explainer. All the very best for your preparation.